Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest football news as we pose the question, what next for the bizarre world of football as more poor VAR decisions pile up. We'll get into that. Incredible stuff. Also, a big weekend ahead in the Premier League and also Gareth Southgate's at it again. I know he's the England manager, but he's just full of holes when it comes to what he's talking about. He's now saying that he might drop Ramsdale, but he's still picking Calvin Phillips, Reece James. We'll get into that a little bit later. But let's fly straight into the VAR. The headline here for me is what's next. It says it below me and I'll say it to you now. What is next? Well, it's going to be me talking about how bad football is at the moment. And in a way, I'm very glad that we saw bad decisions in Europe this week because let's not forget, we've heard from the PGMOL, Howard Webb, before that they can't do anything without UEFA's ratification anyway. So the fact that VAR is broken in Europe, that's UEFA, that might just allow us all to say the whole system is broken. It would be concerning if it was just the Premier League because UEFA would go, well, it's your problem to solve, and then it becomes convoluted. But we saw this week the red card for Rashford, handballs for it touching your hand, Liverpool not getting that goal late on because of some ridiculous decision, and also another Liverpool player not getting sent off for a similar foul or tackle or challenge or incident that Rashford had. We also had yesterday, if you didn't see it, there is an independent Premier League review panel that looks at decisions. I didn't even know this had bloody existed. They've looked at the decisions from the weekend. They look at contentious decisions. There's 5 of them. Apparently 3 of them are ex-players. Have played the game. I mean, that's great, isn't it? Who is it? Neville Carragher and Michael Owen, because we know what they're going to say. I mean, why these people, why is it a secret who they are? You know, surely if you're going to have accountability and independence, you must be identifiable. Otherwise, you're going to get conspiracy. But ultimately, what they've done is they said that Havertz should have got sent off. I agree. Gomes should have got sent off. I agree. But on the foul on Gabriel, they're saying voting 4-1. So 4 of them say no foul. The goal should have been given. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And you know what? The big headline is that unlike tennis, cricket, rugby, Formula One, or most other sports, where the consumer and the viewer has a consistent viewing experience and knows the rules, you know the bottom line here for football, we don't know what's going on. We are the viewer and we are the people that put the money into the game, whether it's sponsors for clubs, BT, Sky, everybody, TNT making money from subscriptions, footballers on 300 grand a week. They would not be on that. I almost feel like someone needs to knock on their door and just tell them, you know, all this money you're making out of football, where do you think the money comes from? It's not dropping down from the clouds. It's because of us and our passion for this sport and putting money into it through subscriptions and shirt sales and everything. And we as fans are therefore powerful, but we as fans are being victimized. Because every game of football, there is no consistency. If I watch some rugby and the referees will be consistent game to game. If I watch Formula One, the rules are consistent race to race. You watch a game of football, and you can watch a game at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can watch a game at 5:30, and you will see things completely different happening. The contradiction is incredible. How can it be the world's game? How can it be the beautiful game when it's a confusing game? And you look at that Liverpool challenge yesterday where he, stands on his ankle, no red card given. Right choice. But the night before, Rashford has it given against him on a VAR review. It's incredible how every game is being refereed separately, independently to each other. This is not a game of football anymore. This is Liverpool playing Toulouse, Man United playing Copenhagen. It'll be Man City against Chelsea at the weekend, Brighton playing whoever they are. Every game is being over-analysed and over-officiated by people separately. There is no consistency across the whole game at all. And it's destroying it. It's destroying it before our eyes. And you end up in a situation where you get Jamie Carragher on Wednesday night saying that's not a red card for Rashford, it's a bad decision. And people quite rightly saying, but at the weekend you're saying, Arteta's wrong for calling it out. And the hypocrisy is there. There's only one stance here. And the people who are right, unfortunately, are the people, and we were talking about it, who stuck up for Liverpool, no matter who you support, who stuck up for Brighton no matter who you support, who stick up for Wolves no matter who you support, who stuck up for Arsenal no matter who you support, because you're a fan of football. The rivalry breaks us down. All those ex-players and everybody who went against Arsenal at the weekend, they can't moan about the Rashford red card because you're telling us to respect referees. The game is out of control. It's being ruined. Now, whether you think Gabriel pushed Joel Linton or not, it's somewhat irrelevant. It's just another example of contentious, bad officiating. And what some people are doing is they're letting rivalry and their opinion overcloud the overall picture of, all right, maybe that one you don't think was a foul, but here's another 60 in the last 3 weeks of bad decisions, and you're gonna tow your cart to that and say let's respect referees. Some of these ex-players have had to be quiet this week about certain decisions. I don't know whether Gary Neville said anything about the Rashford thing, because if he does, he's sort of people will say, well, yeah, but you were defending referees at the weekend. So the one constant here is that we're getting lots and lots of bad decisions. And the one constant here is to actually be behind change in football, because I can't keep watching football. I don't know about you. I can't keep watching football game to game and going, well, that was a red card yesterday. And that was a handball yesterday. And why is he not giving a foul there? You know, the biggest thing for me is, and I must come back to it, this Premier League panel that is independent and said 4-1 that Joel Linton didn't foul Gabriel. I'm sorry, I don't know who these people are, and I don't know what connection they have with the PGMOL. But I would say this: if they'd come out against the PGMOL, Arsenal, Arteta look very strong. Fans look really strong. Who's on this panel? What's their independence? Because I'm sorry, you have to scrutinise that. Who's on the independent panel? And what is their independence? Because I cannot, I watched it again before I did this video. I watched that cross in, I watched Joel Linton push Gabriel, and I'm like, I don't care whether we're looking at a red card tackle or a handball or whatever. You cannot vote. You cannot get 5 people who know football voting 4-1 on that. It should be 3-2 either way. It can't be 4-1. So therefore I think, well, who does this benefit? Because if they'd voted against the PGMOL are in all sorts of trouble. They're getting everything wrong. They needed a PR thing that they can hang their hat on. And they've got it now. An independent panel voted that we were right. So, you know, that's actually an example now of good refereeing. All these fans who don't know what they're on about, they're saying it's a foul. And look at our independent panel. We got it right. We got it right. But you didn't get it right. You didn't get it right. Because the week before, Michael Oliver, in the penalty box of a Manchester derby, gave a foul when Rasmus Højlund isn't even grabbing the shirt of Rodri and he falls down on the floor like he's been shot. You gave that as a foul on review, but you're not giving a foul on Joel Linton. And that's my problem. I watch a lot of football, as I'm sure you do. I love football, as I'm sure you do. And therefore, I remember things. I remember what happens. I remember how VAR and not the on-field referee. So it wasn't like they had to overturn not clear and obvious. The on-field referee did not give the penalty in the derby. The VAR official went looking for it and said, you might want to look at this. This is a foul. It's the softest touch. It's like an ant's fart in cotton wool. And they gave a penalty. Joel Linton actually shoves Gabriel. You can't say it's too soft when you've given a penalty in a Manchester derby for something softer. And that's what I mean. They can't wriggle their way out of it because they are completely and utterly contradicting themselves. So, yeah, I think the PGMOL needed that because now they can say that they were right. But I've watched it. I've watched it time and time again. And I still would love to sit in a room with one of these experts who are telling me why it's not a foul. Because all they're going to say is, it's not enough to push Gabriel off. He's overacted from the push. And all I would say is, does he push him? Well, it's hard to tell how much he pushes him, but does he push him? Well, he has got his hands on his back. Yeah, okay. So why are you siding with the attacker when he could and probably did push him hard enough to push him out of the way? Why are you guessing that it's not enough contact when you can see the contact? Surely, when you can see the contact and it's very visible, you have to go that it's a foul, because otherwise you're into the realms of guesswork. This is Premier League football. So yeah, look, with VAR, I think that's the bottom line. What next? What's coming this weekend? Because Anthony Taylor's refereeing a Chelsea game. You know, there are other referees in the Premier League as well. And what next is going to be more bad decisions, I'm afraid. And The big problem is every game is being refereed differently. You can't have what happened with Rashford and what happened with Liverpool. They're either both not a red card, which is right, or they both are a red card. You can't have handballs in one game and handballs in the other. I mean, I quite like the European handball rule, where if it hits your hand, it's a penalty. I mean, Harry Maguire heads the ball onto the Copenhagen's defender's arm. He heads it from here. His arm is here. There is absolutely no way that defender can do anything about that. That wouldn't be a penalty in the Premier League. I mean, Maguire's headed it onto his hand less than a metre away. But later in the game, somebody controls it with their arm and he doesn't give a penalty. So, are you going to give a penalty for all of it, or are you just making your mind up as you go along? Consistency. We've seen it in the Premier League this year. What's a handball? Nobody knows what a handball is, because sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, and we need consistency. Get your comments in below. Lots to talk about there, isn't there? I just find it... I don't find it tiring talking about it, because this is the beautiful game. And it's become a very ugly game. And it's become a very confusing game. You know, it's like being in Thailand and not... You know, it's confusing. You know, you don't know. You know what I'm on about. And the reality is that we can't have a situation where all of the sports are being officiated consistently, and the Premier League is... I don't know whether people at the PGMOL and the Premier League think, but this is really entertaining. Let me send a strong message to you. I don't think it's entertaining to know the referee's name. I don't think it's entertaining to wait 2 minutes for people to be sat in a room on a computer drawing lines. I don't think it's entertaining. I think it's entertaining when I watch a game of football where I remember a good run or a good goal or a good tackle or a good save, and I don't know who the referee is because I haven't noticed them. That's entertainment. I don't want to know the name of referees. You are referees. I want to watch football and I want to follow it and I want to understand it like I have done for the last 30 years of my life. I don't understand this game anymore. You're ruining it. You're ruining this game. Fix it. Also, somebody else who needs to fix it is Gareth Southgate. I mean, I've overrun a little bit here, but I just wanted to say this. Gareth Southgate's been talking about Aaron Ramsdale and how the lack of game time may lead to him not being picked for the next squad. How is this any different to what he does with Calvin Phillips? Calvin Phillips has played 89 minutes of Premier League football. We are on game week 12. Do the maths. Well, it's 10 times 9, 900. 11 times 9, 990. But let's not forget, not every game is 90 minutes now. A lot of these games are going up to 100 minutes, or beyond. So I would say Man City have probably played close to 1,100 minutes, and Calvin Phillips has played 89. He's been selected for 3 England squads in that time. How can Ramsdale's place legitimately be under threat when he is picking a midfielder, an outfield player who doesn't play for his club? I think again, Southgate sort of represents VAR to me. It's so illogically bad. You wonder how it's allowed to operate. But what it is, they get it wrong so often, it becomes the norm, and you can't beat it because it's constant. They grind you down with the constant hypocrisy. But it's incredible. Absolutely incredible that he would even mention Ramsdale. There's a January transfer window that Ramsdale will probably use. But to even mention it publicly when you've picked a guy 3 internationals in a row this season who's played 89 Premier League minutes, and you've got James Ward-Prowse, who's arguably West Ham's best player, it's incredible. But, you know, he does remind me of VAR because it's just completely and utter hypocrisy and ineffectiveness. Get your comments in below anyway. Lots to get into there. And of course, it's a big weekend. You can check out Win, Lose or Draw with me and Ben Foster, where we previewed the weekend Premier League fixtures. We've also got our podcast out, Goldbridge Saves Football. You can play Goldbridge on there. I'm talking about why Ange is overrated and Will loves him. So that was quite an interesting conversation. Check out the podcast as always. We've got a new Friday episode, which basically looks ahead to the weekend with a few games and FPL look ahead and all that. Links in the video description. We have a watch along tomorrow lunchtime. It's Wolves against Spurs. Looking forward to that. And of course, Man City, Chelsea. I'll speak to you all later. Check out the podcast.